Hmm. So I think we can begin, Prabhuji, if you're good to go. So,
Yes.
first of all, thank you everyone who's joined us today for this Instagram live. It's genuinely a pleasure to be with all of you today on behalf of Pavitra. And it's more so I'm honored and privileged to introduce Govind Prabhuji to all of you. If you've been on the Pavitra platform before, you've seen him around a few times. But just in case you don't know about Govind Prabhuji, I can spend a few hours talking only about him. But just very briefly, he's a monk, he's an author, an educationalist who is extremely knowledgeable and passionate about Bharatiya culture, Bharatiya values, and Bharatiya history or itihas. But for me personally, he's a sounding board. He's somebody go to for advice. He's a shoulder to cry on, and he's just a bank of knowledge that I keep going to with lots of questions, and he somehow has the answers to them. So this session, Prabhuji, is basically going to be very similar to all of our other interactions, where I'm just going to keep asking you questions, and then you can tell us your views on the issue. So why don't we jump right into it, Prabhuji? The topic for today's session is Guru empowers. So let's start off with what is the role of a guru, and how does that role work to empower an individual?
Thank you, Brunda, for inviting me for this Pavitra platform. It's my pleasure to be here. And you must have heard our talk on menstruation. It was a very hit talk, which they discussed many aspects. So, just like to understand even the basic concept of nature, we need a teacher. So, the concept of guru is very simple. Guru is like a breath. One cannot sustain, one cannot survive without the breath. But the interesting principle of the breath is without breath we cannot survive, but still we are not conscious of the breath all the time. Only when we are suffocated we realize the value of breath. Similarly, what is the role of a guru? As I said, in the foundational principle, the role of a guru is like a breath. But the interesting principle, how does he do that? How does she do it? Guru is again, the concept of guru is not gender centric. Guru is a separate tattva only. People can debate about that also. So, guru's role in the life of a living entity, a student, a disciple, is to help the disciple to discover his self. Our self is so close to us, but we are so far away from our very self. And that self has many layers. There is a physical layer, there is a mental layer, there is a social layer, there is an intellectual layer, and there is a spiritual layer. So, Guru helps us to integrate all our layers. That is called as Swadharma. And then that Guru helps us to interact with the world, which is called as the Loka Sangraha. So, Swadharma and the Loka Sangraha is the role of a teacher or a guru in the life of a student. Some people may agree this concept consciously, some people may not agree this concept consciously, but the point is everybody needs a teacher to move in life. That is the principle of guru.
Yes, absolutely, Proji, and it's so true that sometimes we don't even realize how much we need a guru until we need somebody, and then we realize that how disconnected we actually are from our identity, and we need somebody at that time to guide us or to show us the right direction. But Prabhuji, the word guru itself, especially nowadays, it's taken on so many connotations and it's used in so many contexts. And often these contexts are very extreme. So with regards to that, can you describe what the principle or the foundational principle of a guru is? What is the guru tattva that we talk about or we read about in Shastras? Can we discuss a bit about that?
So generally the word guru means heavy. Now, the word guru means heavy, and sometimes when the concept is not properly understood, if you study carefully the history of India, that because something is so heavy, people want to occupy that position without being qualified. It's very interesting in this world. For anything, you need to show your qualification. Except if you are in the Bollywood family for nepotism, you can join without having the art. Or if you're a politician's family, right? So then you're not seeing qualification. And the third one is unfortunate reality. Just see, art, ruling and teaching requires the greatest of the qualification, but many times, unfortunately, because they give a lot of value, those who are fake also choose to become a teacher, choose to become a politician, and they choose to become artist. So therefore, that we have to understand. So anything which is very valuable also has a disadvantage in this world. That is the nature of this world. The nature of this world, if you have a diamond, there is a greater chance that you will be cheated with an imitation diamond. Because when you are cheated with an imitation, the person who cheats makes a huge profit. Similarly, the concept of Guru Tattva, is so fascinating in the whole parampara of education. His role is, what is his role? His role is to make us discover ourselves, as I say, and move on in such a way. Like if you have studied the whole concept of Upanayan Samskar, people do Upanayan Samskar, we have seen it. Now Upanayan Samskar is like a mini marriage. It has become a festival, right? It is a very grave, sobering ceremony where a child, it doesn't matter who it is, she or he goes to the place of the teacher. Generally, traditionally, the boys would go to the teacher. They would learn everything from the teacher in such a way the teacher would, after understanding that the student has learned, they would leave the child. Now we have discovered you can go into the world. So therefore, he's a breath. But as I said, he's a breath, but it does not suffocate us. The purpose of Guru is not to enslave the student. The purpose of the Guru is to leave the student to grow. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada made a very interesting point. My role as a Guru is to bring you to the divinity. Now, for him, divinity was Krishna. For some other, Krishna could be divine, divinity, whatever they want to call. So the role of a teacher is to connect you with that divinity and find that divinity wherever you travel. So therefore, one should not feel that Guru is like a mafia. Guru is like a breath only again. He is there, and as you learn the art of pranayam, what is pranayam? The pranayam concept is taking the breath in and letting the breath out. That is life. To take and to give. Swartha and Paramartha. Swadharma and Loka Samdharma. If you give too much, you'll be exploited. If you take too much, you'll be exploited. So therefore, he teaches the art of integrating between taking what you need and giving what society needs. And he teaches that art, that skill, and that disposition.
So there are two things I picked up on, Prabhuji, on what you said in terms of dimensions of a guru. The first thing was, it's not about that suddenly there's this all-knowing personality who's suddenly going to solve your problems. He will help you by understanding you first and work with you almost like a manthan kind of a process, where
Yes.
there is, there is understanding between guru and the shishya, guru and disciple. And then based on that, the guru will get you to a point where in fact you might not even need the guru anymore, because he has empowered you enough to go out into the world on your own. And need him not in the sense that, not in the acute sense where you needed him before when you might have been in trouble, but need his teachings rather than his, his constant intervention.
That's a
It,
very good point. So the very interesting that the gratitude to Guru is eternal, but the obligation with Guru is time bound. Like when a student would go to Gurukul, it is a very much need of a student to be connected to the teacher. Unfortunately, nowadays we see, Guruism also has become like a cult figure only. Rather than becoming a disciple of a Guru, people are becoming a fan of a Guru.
hmm.
When you go to a film actor, you are a fan, but आपके घर में fan भी नहीं देंगे वो, because when you become his or her fan, they make billions of dollars. But the connection or a relationship between Guru and Shishya is a connection of learning. Therefore, it is called as the Samvada. Sahana Bunatu, Sahana Bunatu, Sahavirya Karabhavai. This is the prayer offered by Guru and disciple together. They say, in learning, I also grow. In teaching, I also grow. Huh? So therefore, the Kena Upanishad makes very interesting point. What is it? The Kena Upanishad says, what is the difference between Guru and a Shishya? The difference between Guru and Shishya, that Guru knows that I do not know. And Shishya does not know that he does not know. Therefore, when a student raises pertinent question, the Guru also feels, wow, in this very question, I can see a new discovery is happening. So therefore, a student and disciple, they do manthan. Therefore, the Vedas say, that the Guru is like a Purvarani and Shishya is like a Uttararani. Arani is a Yagya stick. You have seen that Yagya stick. So that Yagya stick, when they are sitting like this, so, and what do they do? Guru gives the pravachan and student hears the pravachan. So when there is a manthan of hearing and listening, that gives rise to the butter of knowledge. The Guru also relishes and student also relishes. So therefore, the knowledge becomes very important. Therefore, whether it is Bhagavad Gita, whether it is Bhagavatam, whether it is Chaitanya Charitamrita, it talks, Guru connects us to Guru Tattva. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a very interesting part which is called as the Shikshavalli. The word Shikshavalli means creeper of knowledge. And in that creeper of knowledge, there is a convocation address given by the teacher. Every year, the convocation address is the same. Because every set of the students are different from the previous set. Nowadays, when we attend the convocation address, like I attended your convocation address, right? Whoever comes, every time they have to give a new speech. Yes, the foundational speech would be the same, but the story might be different. So in this convocation address, which is given by the teacher to the student, what does he say? The teacher says that Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara. That Satya is what you should be connected. Practice Dharma. Matra Devo Bhavo, Pitra Devo Bhavo, Acharya Devo Bhavo, Atiti Devo Bhavo. And then he tells the student, my dear child, now you are going out of my place. And why are you going from here? Not that you have learned everything. Rather, learning has become your condition. So
Beautiful.
wherever you go, you will remain an eternal learner. You are not going here as an educated. Unfortunately, this certificate culture has made people feel that my education is completed. And that is the beginning of ignorance. That is the
Right.
beginning of ignorance. Therefore, the teacher and student, the relationship is the relationship of new adventure. No, student comes out, goes to his family, wherever she or he goes. They learn. The life teaches them limitless lessons, and therefore he is thrown into the tattva of education rather than only the teacher. And whenever the student gets the facilities to reconnect on a special occasion to his teacher, he goes and offers his gratitude. Therefore, I said, कृतज्ञता का भाव होता है, परंतु ऋण नहीं होता. कृतज्ञता का भाव. Huh? And therefore, when a student, wherever he goes, because the teacher has taught him, very interesting, it is said, when there is a respect gives rise to attention. Respect gives rise to attention. Attention gives rise to retention of knowledge, what you are learning from your teacher. And that retention gives rise to assimilation. जीर्ण करना, उसको चबा के उसको चबा लेना. And assimilation gives rise to reproduction, distribution, reproduction. And how does distribution happens? Distribution happens based upon the wisdom of life. The problem with the today's world is we have experience but no wisdom, or people have knowledge of the scripture but no experience. So therefore it was the responsibility of a guru along with the student to give the knowledge of the scripture, the perspective, and the perspective would become wisdom when the life was surrounded with experience. Therefore, the
And this
teacher
brings us
ultimately,
back to
yeah, very
so Prabhuji, this actually brings us back to what you said about the goal of a shishya is to become to become a guru in the sense that he should be a learner for life, or she
yeah,
should be
he's
a
a learner.
learner for life. And
Yeah,
then the when you go back to the definition, the first definition you gave us, that a guru knows that he does not know, then that becomes the conditioning of a student also, because then he starts going through the cycle of observing, assimilating, understanding, and then reproducing that information as wisdom for the
yes,
rest of the world.
yeah. So therefore, the scriptures say, Guru and Guru Tattva. Even Srila Prabhupada explained, the purpose of Guru is to connect you to Paramatma. The Guru, the physical teacher, is an external manifestation of Paramatma, and Guru is an internal manifestation who appears as Paramatma. Paramatma, when he appears externally, is Guru, and Guru, when he appears internally, is called as Paramatma. So, therefore, Prabhupada explains it is the responsibility of the spiritual master to connect the student with Paramatma. For connecting them, this is my uh, people. Again, as I said, I remember I was talking to one of my senior friend who was also part of the spiritual practices. I said, I need a physical learning from my teacher, not simply the picture. And the Prabhupada said, people have picture of a guru just like they have a dog in their house and they have a picture. That will not work. Teacher means he has to teach. If the teacher is not teaching, then a student can never learn. Then you have to find a teacher who teaches you, not a picture of a teacher, but learning from the teacher. Only when the student learns from the teacher, then he can say, my teacher has taught me how to discover the greater experiences of the life.
So, Prabhuji, going off of that, can you elaborate on the guru-shishya relationship? Because, from just whatever little we've discussed already, it is clearly not equivalent to what we today know of from a student-teacher relationship. It's deeper than that, and it's different than that. It's almost a false equivalence. So can you elaborate on what the guru shishya relationship is, and how does that fit into today's context?
In the traditional time, the guru and the teachers were non-different. because the teachers were teaching the knowledge of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. They were integrating the knowledge. No teacher, unless you chosen a teacher like Charvaka. Charvaka was a conscious atheistic, no, who taught people, life's goal is to enjoy. But they were very small group of people. Every Gurukul apparently connected you to your physical reality, your vital reality, your mental reality, that means your social reality, your intellectual reality, and your spiritual reality also. Therefore, the Pandavas, let us take the example of the Pandavas. Now, Dronacharya was not their spiritual master. In one sense, he was like a tuition teacher. He had an agenda to make, power with the help of the Pandavas. His goal was to capture Drupad, and therefore he taught. But still, because he was a great teacher, his focus was archery or martial art, Dhanur Vidya, Kshatriya Vidya. But still, he to the Pandavas gave certain values. Therefore, Pandavas treated him almost like a spiritual master. And at the same time, they also had a Kula Guru. Kripacharya was their Kula Guru. But when the family was separated, they had another teacher called as Daumya Rishi as their Kula Guru. And Daumya Rishi stayed with the Pandavas for 13 years completely. For a royal family, the Guru takes the vow to the student, in your good times or bad times, I will continue to stay.
Wow.
Daumya Rishi traveled with the Pandavas when they had nothing at their disposal. And it took them to so many people around the entire Bharatavarsha, introducing them to different teachers. Like Yudhishthira Maharaj learned gambling also in the forest. No, because
From Dhaumya Rishi.
No, Dhaumya Rishi, because Dhaumya Rishi had certain knowledge.
Right.
So if he had to learn gambling, then it is not that Guru says, I'm all knowing. You want stock exchange, you learn from me only. If you want to learn mathematics, you learn from me only. Nowadays, unfortunately, there are some people who feel threatened by their student learning something else. If a student discovers that I want to learn mathematics, I want to learn psychology, and this teacher may not know that knowledge, then he says, okay, you have that capacity, you have that disposition, he blesses. So Dhaumya Rishi took the Pandavas to so many teachers. Vashishta Maharshi, the guru of the Kula Guru of the Raghukul, he also introduced them to so many teachers. So therefore, traditionally, whether you are teaching Jyotishya, Ayurveda, martial art, they would also give some understanding of spirituality. And the spiritual gurus would also give some understanding of life. But unfortunately, where we go to the modern education, if you go and study Ayurveda in a regular college, the first thing they will not talk is पुनर्जन्म के बारे में चर्चा नहीं करेंगे, आत्मा के बारे में चर्चा नहीं करेंगे, गुरु को प्रणाम करने के बारे में चर्चा नहीं करेंगे, या गुरु और शिष्य दोनों मिलकर सिगरेट फूकेंगे, being Ayurvedic doctors also. And both will say, I never wanted to be an Ayurvedic teacher. I'm not saying all Ayurvedic, but many students I have met, they said I wanted to be an MBBS doctor. तो न तो सही प्रकार का शिक्षक है, उसके अंदर खुद विश्वास नहीं, तो how will he give it to others? Or if you go to the modern medical college, engineering college, they undermine the whole concept of spiritual wisdom. So therefore they become ordinary teacher, and they themselves are undermining their own position, unfortunately. And therefore today you're asking me this question, that ordinary teacher is not equivalent to guru, and that is true now. But previously, whether it is at your Kula Guru, Pandavas respected Dronacharya as much as Dhaumya. In fact, if you ask most of our Indians, who is the Guru of the Pandavas, they will say Dronacharya.
Yes.
But do you know the Pandavas stayed more with Daumya Rishi than Dronacharya? Dronacharya taught them in the Gurukul. During their kingship in Indraprastha, Dronacharya was staying in Hastinapur. So their connection with Dronacharya was very less. Their connection with Daumya in regards to contribution to Pandava's life was so great, but he contributed in such a way that he was like a breath. He was there,
Hmm.
but he was not there also. And therefore, I guarantee hundreds of people, they will not know about Daumya Rishi. That is the beauty of Daumya Rishi. So that is how the relationship was. So therefore, there is such a conflict between the teacher and guru now, which was
Yes.
non-existing previously. We respected the teacher similarly. So therefore, what our spiritual knowledge teaches, they may not behave like the teachers, but at least we should behave
Hmm.
like a student. We still have to respect
Hmm.
what they're giving to us. They may be smoking, they may be drinking, they may be gambling, but they have given some knowledge to us. So undermining them is undermining the knowledge which they have given, and that with knowledge only you are sustaining your life. They may have taught you
Absolutely.
medicine, they may have taught you engineering, they may have taught you MBBS, whatever they have taught doesn't matter. Give that respect what they deserve, and understand because they were like this, because of the modernity, that has been a big gap between a teacher and a guru.
So, Prabhuji, the relationship between the Guru Shishya seems to be much more dynamic than like a static preset template that uh, that sometimes we think that we have to follow. So, but how much flexibility exists in that relationship? I know you said right, at the very a few minutes ago that it was there was it's almost difficult to differentiate between a guru and shishya in previous times, but how much flexibility is there actually in that relationship? Is it that some gurus are more prominent in certain circumstances or in certain situations, and based on where you are in life? And how does that relationship, how does that dynamic work?
Very, 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 very dynamic, very good question. Again, it all depends upon, see, therefore, generally what would happen if you study carefully, again, the history of our Shastras, the gurus generally were purely giving knowledge to their student. Their only project in life was giving knowledge. They had no
Hmm.
other project than giving knowledge. And therefore, some student, the some of the samitas, they say sometimes the student would stay till the age of 45 with the teacher. Some would stay at the age of 16. Why? Because the teacher would keep them, not because he needed them for some work. I remember I had a school next to me. It was we used to have a competition with against them, cricket, football, and their student would be like Ghatotkash, 19-year-old, 20-year-old student, and we were 14-year-old boys playing against them, and every time our school would lose in final match. Why? Because their cricket coach and football coach was the only same coach. I will not give his name also. I can give because it's his name. His name was Karna only. His name was Karan sir only. They call it Karan sir. What he would do, he would fail the skillful student. The best
Oh.
players would be failed 2 years and 3 years. And the student would not realize they would also happy to play in the school for more years. They did not realize that playing is not the only thing in my life. So then how, if the teacher has this kind of an agenda that my school needs to win, and to make my school win, he is willing to destroy the future of his own student.
Right.
So that should not be the agenda of the teacher. That should not be the agenda of the guru. Therefore, such a transparent guru will keep his student, if it was needed, till the age of 45 also. If it was needed, he would send his student within few days. Like Krishna and Balram stayed at Sandipani Muni only for 64 days. Only
Wow.
for 64 days. Right. So therefore, that dynamic flexibility is so important. And therefore, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the great teachers called as Vedanta Deshika, he asked this question that Krishna, how do anybody know what is my nature? Now, how do I know whether I'm a carpenter, whether I'm an actor, whether I'm a politician, whether I'm a farmer, whether I'm a preacher? How do I know whether I'm a fighter pilot? How do I know? And Krishna said, Arjuna, nobody knows. Arjuna was shocked. He said, how? He said, only the three modes of material nature, their combination decides what is your nature. He said, if anybody else decides, this is Vedanta Deshika, one great Vaishnava commentator on Bhagavad Gita. He said, if anybody decides, they have an agenda. And agenda does not matter whether it is a good agenda or bad agenda. Agenda is an agenda. So therefore, it was very important for the teacher to be so transparent, because people are dedicating their life blindly.
Right.
Right? Saying that I give my life to you. Right. So when they do like that, it is like a newborn baby coming to your lap. And you can do anything and everything with that newborn baby. And therefore we see, I wrote an article when there was 2-3 years back, there was the scam of, big so-called great spiritual leaders in Haryana, in other places also. Unfortunately, he must have been good person, but the power and followers made him feel that I'm indispensable. Right? So therefore, again, that Kena Upanishad is so beautiful. It reminds the teacher, it reminds the student that I know nothing, and the student knows that he does not know that he does not know. I always remember this concept. So therefore, it is very dynamic and very flexible. But in the beginning, like a teacher, a student, like, I just give an example of classical singing. When you go to a teacher to learn classical singing, there are structures which you have to learn. The sutras you cannot compromise. They are unchangeable realities of classical music. They are unchangeable realities of mathematical sutras. They are unchangeable realities of Vedic sutras. They are called as Shruti. But after you learn that discipline, then the teacher allows you to break that discipline, keeping that discipline in the foundation. So very interesting. So the foundation is unchangeable, but the application is very dynamic and very flexible. Therefore, Prabhupada is always called time, place, circumstances. Time, place, circumstances, and a person also. Therefore, it's very dynamic.
So, Prabhuji, there's this analogy that we sometimes use, that in order to think outside the box, you first need to know every corner of the box.
Very good.
So
Yes.
the guru maybe can show you what the box is, and that's the Shruti. But then he gives you the freedom and the empowerment to go beyond that, and then and explore on your own and discover new things on your own. Does that resonate with what you said?
Yeah. Therefore, there is a succession. There is a freshness. For example, what it is said, like however much you talk about the great king like Krishna Deva Rai, great king Shivaji Maharaj, great king Prithviraj Chauhan, they are inspiration now. They are not reality for us. We can't say, अरे आज शिवाजी महाराज होते थे ना चाइना का वाट लगा देते थे, right? No, because he's not there now. His inspiration is there. He becomes an inspiration. And some kings who are much, much older than Shivaji Maharaj, they simply become reference. So therefore, the whole principle what something was spoken 200 years ago, right? 200 years ago, to the student where the teacher was dealing with them, you cannot bring that idea into today's time and try to apply as it is. Therefore, the great Aristotle, he said that he was a disciple of Plato. He said, I love Plato, but I love truth more. Huh? So therefore, truth has to be applicable. Unfortunately, sometimes what happens, people bring something which is non-applicable in this age, but because it is spoken by their favorite teacher, they want to forcefully apply that. No? So therefore, that line is important. That disciplic succession is important. And therefore, the duty of Vedantic philosophy is there is a continuity of knowledge. And that knowledge is represented by the teacher or a guru. No, it is not that, there is no prophet or there is no guru beyond this particular person. That is very destructive, dangerous, and dogmatic. So therefore, this continuity is more important. Shivaji Maharaj's inspiration is there, but today the decision-making power is with the Prime Minister of India. Right.
Correct.
So Sardar Patel was great. Subhash Chandra Bose was great. But now they are not there with us. We can't say, अरे अगर वो होते थे, और नहीं है. उनके डिसिप्लिन सक्सेशन में, उनके परंपरा में, उनके विचारधारा वालों को लेकर आपको काम करना पड़ेगा. And that is the responsibility of the teacher, fulfilling the responsibility and creating the legacy. And that has been a great contribution of Vedantic philosophy. Therefore, Krishna says, "Evam parampara praptam, evam rajarshayo vidu." Sakalena mahata. When that disciplic succession is lost, then again Krishna or Bhagwan, Ishwar, he comes and re-establishes that concept.
And we see that, Prabhuji, actually, even you brought up Shivaji Maharaj. But like Shivaji Maharaj pioneered guerrilla warfare. A lot of the warfare tactics he used, they were not used by kings that came before him, by Hindu kings that came before him. So he himself is an example of the using the principles of the establishment of a dharmic Swaraj, but he used very different means. Or he applied that knowledge in very different ways. So in today's time also, whatever inspiration we can derive from Shivaji Maharaj's work, that has to be translated for today's time.
Yes.
And that can be done through a guru parampara or the disciplic succession.
Yeah, because if somebody has studied Shivaji Maharaj, no understanding he used sword. I'll give an example. When Shivaji Maharaj saw that fighting with the Mughals, they had come from outside place. They're invaders, right? They were invaders. So, and they were tall, lanky. So they had this, short swords because their hands were very long. So Shivaji Maharaj was very expert in metallurgic engineering also. He knew how to mix the metals. It's a very interesting. People only talk about, he killed Afzal Khan, he removed the fingers of Shaiste Khan. But he realized that our Maratha soldiers are short. Sometimes to create the picture of Shivaji Maharaj bigger than his life, they make him 6 feet 7 inch, 6 feet, they make him very, very tall. But he was not tall. No, just because he was not tall doesn't mean that he's not tall in our heart. So what he did was, he made new kind of sword, long sword, but very light, so that the short hands of the Marathas, the Maulas, with a long sword can attack their opponents. But when the French and the British people came, the swords became irrelevant.
Right.
Now it is there, it's the decoration. You learn the art of sword fighting, but you don't fight with the sword. Of course, our Ghatak soldier, they use their hands only, right? They are trained because sometimes there is a war which is your face off ho jayega. Us samay karna padta. But the point is, keeping the flow of knowledge fresh is the beauty of parampara. Whether it is king or a guru, making it accessible to the student. You know, if you tell what was practiced during the times of the Bhagavatam, the student, when you would go to Guru's ashram, what would they wear? They would wear tree bark. They would wear tree bark, stay in the forest, live by begging. What is it? It is the principle of simplicity. Now, if I start a Gurukul and make that everybody should wear tree bark and go live by begging, in some places begging is criminal activity. So the point what the teacher is talking, the Bhagavatam is speaking, it is the simplicity is the principle. And how do you apply that simplicity depends upon time, place, yuga and situations. That is more important. And therefore it's a flow, continuous flow.
And Prabhuji, in this disciplic succession, that exists everywhere, in all fields, in all industries. Although it's now we can't see it as much, but you talked about classical music. We have so many Hindustani gharanas that still operate like that. Carnatic music is still very Guru Shishya influenced. And is that one of the is that something that we can look up to? Even you talked about Ayurveda coming from a more artificial institutions rather than a more organic form of knowledge dispersal. But is that are there institutions today that have done this well, that maintained Guru Shishya Parampara and maintained disciplic succession, but still kept it fresh for today's context and today's world?
Yeah, this is the challenge in the modern world. What I have seen, what I've observed, that either there are extremely rigid traditionals who do not want to change, or there are people who have become very, they've taken away the soul of that education. Right.
And are just focused on the structure instead.
Structure. So what is happening? One are focused on the quality. It is like quality means I produce ice cream, but how much 5-gram ice cream? It does not satisfy the very person who is about to consume.
Right.
And there are others who are creating sweet rice or ice cream, but there is no milk and sugar only. Now when you say ice cream, it has to be milk, sugar, different essence, different fruits. वो पानी है, sugar नहीं, ठंडा लग रहा है, लेकिन उसमें substance ही नहीं है. So these extreme challenges of being too traditional or too liberal has destroyed the substance of legacy of education. So therefore, there are some people who are working on making this dynamically available, keeping the foundation very strong, at the same time making it available. Like I remember talking to one classical singer only. He said, now the problem is there are ragas which are supposed to be sung in the early morning hours. Prata raga. So generally, traditional time, people would rise before the sun and they would start singing different ragas in the temple, in the royalties, in the big people's house. So they used to sing. They used to have a morning ragas in the temple also. Now the concept of morning sabha, Sangit Sabha have stopped. They are only in the evening times. So what is happening? Because the people say morning raga should not be sung in the evening. So the tradition of the singing is becoming less during the morning time. I remember talking to one classical singer. They're discussing, should we how do we deal with this? The discussion is going on. क्या सुबह का राग शाम को गा सकते हैं? That is a big rasabas. But if you don't do, then you might lose the entire system of this ragas.
Right.
Another
You
example
risk
is,
losing your entire parampara.
yeah,
Because
and
it's like if you
another
cease to remain relevant, then you cease to remain relevant. You're just
yeah. So
not
therefore,
in the picture at all.
yeah, and the next one very interesting principle is, again, there was a concept of surgery. But at one point of time, because Ashoka, this is what I've heard, of course many historians may disagree, they say that because of non-violent philosophy, anything that connected violence, they stopped. And Susrusha Samhita requires a continued legacy. It's a practical science. The theory books are there, but the practical science is lost. Right? Now just see, Ramdev Baba brought the Ayurvedic medicine. Right? So unfortunately, our own people ridicule the science of medicine. Now, very interesting, the Ayurvedic Vaidyas would always look like these simple, sages only, not with
Right.
the coat and tie. I remember one professor in IIT. He's a PhD in physics, as far as I remember, and is also a Sanskrit scholar. He was selected to teach in IIT Mumbai. So when he came for an interview, they were shocked to see him because he was in a traditional vesti. He was not in pant shirt. He was not in suit. They said, you can't do like this. He said, my dress is not teaching. I am teaching. Are you hiring me or hiring my qualification? I said, where does the constitution write that you have to teach the students of engineering with this coat and suit only? ऐसा कुछ लिखा है. Now also
Right.
today in IIT, he stood his ground. He teaches physics to the PhD student in a regular traditional clothes only. I met him. So therefore, what happened with our people, it is like a baby with the bath water. दोनों पी रहे.
Right.
Substance को भी
Yeah.
फेंक दिया, form को भी फेंक दिया. So therefore,
Because they've not
learning
recognized
the
the substance.
traditional, yeah. So therefore, learning traditional knowledge has to be from the traditional perspective only, but applied in the modern perspective. So therefore,
Modern.
we need Ayurveda, Vastu, astrology, classical music, spiritual knowledge. You can't go and study Sanskrit in Harvard University. It
Yeah.
is just like going to Ravana. रावण के पास जाकर आप संस्कृत सीखने के समान है. आप आयुर्वेद जाकर, you can't learn Ayurvedic science from someone who doesn't have the foundational traditional values of studying Ayurveda. He will ridicule that knowledge. You can't go and study the knowledge of classical singing with someone who doesn't have the concept of Guru Parampara. No?
And this is most relevant today, Prabhuji, because it's incumbent on the student to decide who they're taking the knowledge from and where
Yes.
they're taking the knowledge from. Especially today, because we have so many options, so many sources of information, if not knowledge, available to us. So it's incumbent on us. It's our prerogative to be discerning about where we're looking and what we're looking for.
So therefore, yes, absolutely true. Therefore, if the students, like again, another example is given that if you do not know the difference between a potato or aloo and a diamond, and that has become a reality for our student. When TikTok was closed, some people are feeling such a dejection. Somebody said, अरे ये सारे एप्स को बंद करने से चाइना तो घर घर में घुसा हुआ है, तो थोड़ा लैंड लेने से क्या जाएगा. That TV, the radio anchor engine Navid, somebody had made that comment. He called him, अगर तेरे घर पे घुसेगा तो क्या होगा. No, you are saying you will not. Yes, product has come to your house, but that doesn't mean that you allow them to come inside. So the whole narrative of discussion of people, अरे क्या फर्क पड़ता है, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? फर्क कब पड़ता है? जब तुम्हारा कोई 1 इंच भी जगह लेता है ना, तभी फर्क पड़ता है तुम्हें.
Right.
People are talking about peace. Oh, there should be peace. And this liberal, those who talk about peace, they are the one for a slightest provocation, they file a divorce case. They file a property case against their own parents. तभी शांति कहाँ चली गई? जहां युद्ध करना चाहिए वहां शांति की बात करते हैं, और जहां सौहार्द और शांति करना चाहिए वहां तुरंत केस फाइल करते हैं. So because of this wrong understanding and wrong narratives only, so therefore we need people who give them that connect also. Those who talk about the value of Gita and those who talk Bhagavad Gita, they are two different things. एक भगवत गीता के बारे में प्रचार करना और दूसरा भगवत गीता को पढ़ाना. कितने लोगों को मालूम ही नहीं कि गीता और भागवत में अंतर क्या है.
Right.
कई लोग प्रश्न करेंगे, द वेरी पावर ऑफ योर संस्कृति, व्हाट इज द पावर ऑफ योर संस्कृति? You have a diverse scriptures.
Right. Absolutely.
There are different kinds of Puranas. There are 4 Vedas. There are so many Upanishads. There is Mahabharata. There is Ramayana. तो लोग क्या करते रहे, इतना क्यों बुक लिखा है? कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट करता है. एक ही होता तो कितना अच्छा रहता था. This is what calling a diamond and looking for an आलू. आलू में कोई खराबी नहीं है, लेकिन तुम डायमंड है, तुम्हारे पास इतना डाइवर्सिटी, लेकिन आप बोलते इतना क्यों है? Somebody asked this question to one saintly person. You know, why Hindus have too many books? Why not one? He said, my dear friend, what an understanding you have. He said, we have a library. Appreciate the library. So इसलिए it's very important that initial knowledge has to be given. And then when you are inspired, understand, just like the Sanskrit Bharati is doing, 10 days spoken Sanskrit classes. Then you realize, oh, I can do, and then you take next step, then you take next step, then you take next step, and realize, oh, I can also do this. It is not the language of the elite. Like some of the Western scholars, they said Sanskrit is a dead language. Ayurveda is a dead medicine. You know, this is dead, that is dead. So they teach us what is dead, and we believe that. So therefore, a student unfortunately needs to understand. First, you know, we have a library, and then we need a teacher, gurus who sit with them and teach them. There are people who are inspirers, there are inspirer teachers, and there are gurus who are transformers. हमें दोनों की आवश्यकता है, प्रेरणा देने वाले और परिवर्तन करने वाले. अभी क्या हो गया है, प्रेरणा देने वाले परिवर्तन करने के लिए उनके पास समय नहीं है. If I want to learn Bhagavad Gita, you can't give me, okay, take this Bhagavad Gita and read. Bhagavad Gita is not meant to be read. Bhagavad Gita is meant to be discussed. Like Arjuna had a teacher, one student. You know, you can do bhashan to 10,000 people. You can tell a story of Krishna to 10,000 people. But studying Upanishad requires few students and a teacher. You can tell me the greatness of Gita, but understanding Gita requires sitting under a teacher. Therefore, it's called Upanishad. Upanishad, यानी कि उनके चरणों में बैठकर सीखना होगा. No, that is also an interesting principle.